Hello and welcome back to another episode of Injustice For All MMA. My name is David, and this episode is for UFC Fight Night, Kape versus Almabayev. I'm recording this on the day of UFC 313. Let's just get into this fight night. The fight night is basically, this fight night was marred by a couple things. One, just low energy commentary, because it was just Dominic Cruz on color commentary. And then John Anik just trying to compensate for the lack of there being a third man, so he's just screaming and screaming and screaming for 4 hours, basically. But beyond the commentary, which I had really no problem with, I thought the commentary was fine, other than it being very low energy. This fight card will be remembered in my head for just it's just another reminder as to why the Apex is just a terrible place for these cards to be put. For these fights to be put in, because there were so many great fights that if there were a crowd, it would be a classic fight night that is great. And instead, we're hit with bad judging, which we'll get to, shit reffing, which we'll get to, and again, just things that weren't supposed to be placed in. It's just a bad. It was just bad. It's a great fight night that no one will care about. That's what it was. First, Dominic Cruz retires officially, and it's in the Apex. So nobody gave a fuck. People clap, but really nobody gave a fuck. That's what the sentiment was. All right? Let's start off with the first night. With the first fight. There's nothing really to talk about on the first fight. It's Johnson versus Temirov. I'm not going to talk about the fight, but I'm going to talk about the fight in the sense that Charles Johnson is ranked 12th in the flyweight division, and he's the first fight on the card. And we knew that this shouldn't have been the first fight of the card. This fight shouldn't have even been on this card. There's some fights on here that shouldn't be on this card. It just shouldn't be on this card. And you can argue that they have to put it on the card, but really, this should be in an arena somewhere. Johnson versus Temirov shouldn't have been, just based off of the fact that Johnson is streaking before this loss, obviously. Aldrich Lee should have been on this card. That should have been the first fight on the card. Ramos versus Mariscal. Guys, Mariscal has been killing it. And the fact that he wasn't even on the main card is disgusting. Gomis versus Amil. I understand why it's on the card, but it shouldn't have been on the card. Haqparast versus Ribovics shouldn't have been on the card. We can go on for days and days and days. Let's start with the first problem that I have with this card. Lee versus Aldrich. I had this 29-28 for Lee. Excuse me. 29-28 for Aldrich. Okay. 29-28 for Aldrich. The first two rounds for Aldrich. Last round is for Lee. In the first round, Aldrich outstrikes Lee on the feet by about 5 strikes. She also had a takedown with some ground and pound. Second round, she outstrikes Lee again. This time by about 3 strikes. Lee is kind of finally putting her strikes together, and the strikes are lower, but Aldrich still outstrikes Lee. And then the third round, Aldrich has a takedown, but she gets outstruck by Lee by about 5 strikes. This round belongs to Lee, really. I mean, Aldrich gets a takedown, but she does nothing with the takedown, and most of the time on the feet, she's getting outstruck. So that round belongs to Lee. But 2 judges disagree. Saul D'Amato and Junichiro Kamijo, their scorecards are 30-27 for Aldrich, and then Roman Cardia's scorecard reflects mine. Honorable mention is Saul D'Amato and Junichiro Kamijo. Next honorable mention isn't even an honorable mention. It's just a robbery. Now, I don't give a fuck that Almeida was he missed weight. I mean, I care that he missed weight, but I don't care that he missed weight in conjunction in the fact that he should have lost the fight. He was robbed in this fight. And it's insane that there's just so many inconsistencies on this card that just pissed me off. This was the beginning where I was just really mad. Okay. Silva versus Almeida. I had this 29-28 for Almeida. First round for Almeida, last round for Almeida, second round for Silva. Ends in a split decision. You go to the first round. Almeida is outstriking Silva by 4 strikes. Now, during the fight, Silva's outstriking Almeida, but it's kind of even. It's kind of even on the feet. It's towards the end where Almeida starts to lay it on him and kind of go away in terms of the strikes. Silva lands a few heavy strikes on Almeida, but Almeida is outstriking him relatively well during this first round. The optics police come out, and this is a thing that, oh my Lord and Savior, it comes out a lot during this fight card. The optics police in the Apex is a fight killer. Okay, the optics police were not in the favor of Almeida. Even in the first round, I was watching it, I'm like, okay, his body language doesn't look good when he gets hit, but he's outstriking Silva. And I could just tell by the end of that first round. And sometimes I feel like it hits the commentary too, because the way John Anik, and I can do this, I'm a broken record if I keep doing this. The Apex is quiet. No matter how many times Anik wants to say, oh, it's loud tonight despite the capacity. Fuck that. He's the loudest one in the room. Everyone can hear him screaming. The optics police were in full force, given the fact that Almeida is outstriking Silva, yet it looks as though Almeida's losing. It's the weirdest thing ever. It looks really bad. But Almeida is outstriking Silva. You go to the second round where Silva outstrikes Almeida and he has a takedown. He outstrikes him by about 5 strikes. And he also has a takedown. And then in the third round, Almeida just puts it all together. He puts it all together and he's outstriking Silva by about 14 strikes. This is a routine robbery that no one's going to care about. No one's going to give a fuck about. Okay, in the first round, Silva's pushing the pace, but he's getting outstruck by Almeida, yet it doesn't matter. It doesn't fucking matter. You go to the judges' scorecards, and it really hurts. It really hurts. You go Mike Bell, who throughout the night just has terrible scorecards. 29-28. He gives the first round to Silva, and that's what fucks it up. The last 2 rounds reflect mine. Ron McCarthy, his scorecard reflects Mike Bell's. It's also bad. He gives the first round to Silva. Honorable mention to those 2. And then Anthony Manis has the correct fighter, but he has the round scored incorrectly. He gives the first round to Silva. He gives the second round to Almeida. Almeida got outstruck in the second round, and he got taken down. I don't know. It's just madness all over the fucking place. It's really, really bad all over the place. So that's the first guy to get robbed on here. We go to the next honorable mention, and the scorecards don't really matter across the board. It's all the same. 30-27 to Mariscal. I'm talking about Ramos versus Mariscal. In the first round, Mariscal has a takedown, and he outstrikes Ramos by about 19 strikes. Second round, you can argue a 10-8 here. You really can. Mariscal, he outstrikes Ramos by about 32 strikes. Possible 10-8 here, okay? Just remember, O'Malley got a 10-8 for his fight on with Matinho. Problem is, the optics mixed in with that fight gave him the 10-8 also. But my point still stands is that you can argue a 10-8 here. He outstruck him by 32 strikes. He outstruck him bad, okay? And then in the third round, Mariscal had a takedown, and he outstruck Ramos by about 9 strikes. 30-27 across the board. There you have it. You go to the next honorable mention, and it's Amil versus Gomis. This was fight of the night before we got Haqparast versus before we got Haqparast versus Ribovics. Let me find it real quick if I can. Yeah, Amil versus Gomis. I had this 29-28 fight ended in a split decision. 29-28. Amil, last 2 rounds for Amil. You go to the first round, where Gomis outstruck Amil by about 8 strikes. He was outstriking him on the feet. Though he was getting pushed back for a large portion of that first round, he was outstriking Amil pretty clearly. And when a lot of the fight was in the clinch, he was outstriking him in the clinch as well. I know they were both hitting each other, but he was a little bit more active than Amil was in the clinch. So the first round goes to him. From this point onwards, it's all Amil. Second round, Amil outstrikes Gomis. It's pretty clear he outstrikes Gomis. It's not even just that. He's pushing the pace on Gomis. He's pushing the pace. He's outstriking him. He's giving him no room at all. That round belongs to Amil. And then in the third round, it's close on the feet. And when I say close on the feet, it's obvious that Amil outstrikes Gomis on the feet. But they're both kind of trading. But he goes back to where he left off, where he's giving him no space. Amil is slightly outstriking Gomis. Amil also gets a takedown, and he lands some pretty decent ground and pound while Gomis is trying to get up. This round is clearly belongs to Amil. You go to the judges' scorecards, and 2 judges, their scorecards reflect my Mike Bell and Ron McCarthy, 29-28 to Amil, and then Anthony Manis, his scorecard is ridiculous. He gives the first round to Gomis. He gives the second round to Gomis as well. Nah. Honorable mention Anthony Manis. That's incorrect. Then you go to what is the robbery of the night. It's the big robbery of the night. If you don't care about Silva versus Almeida, then you should definitely care about Haqparast versus Ribovics. It's almost like they're prepping us for the robbery. I can't even call on the optics police in this one. I can't, because it's not. There was no optics police in this one. It's just a bad fucking scorecard. Like, really, really bad. Let's start off with the fact that I'm tired of these Twitter scorecards coming up. We'll talk about one of the Twitter scorecards that came up, or Twitter comments that came up versus Kape versus Almabayev. But a Twitter scorecard that came up for Haqparast and Ribovics, not to say that he was wrong in how he scored it for round number 1, but why is the Zahabi guy, why is his scorecard coming up for a Haqparast fight? They train in the same gym. Why would you put his scorecard on the screen? That's insane. That's like if Uriah Faber were fighting and he wins the first round, and then Song Yadong puts his scorecard on Twitter, and then they throw it up on the screen. Why the fuck would you do that? There's no need to do that. So that's my one nitpick there. But let's get to the fight. This fight ends in a split decision. This is not a split decision. There should not have been a split decision. A split decision win for Haqparast. Haqparast, Ribovics is robbed. Clear. And this is not based off of the third round. He is robbed. Clear. Haqparast wins the first round 10-9. Ribovics wins the last 2 rounds. It's a 29-28 on my scorecard. We go to the descriptions. Okay, in the first round, Haqparast he outstrikes Ribovics by about 3 strikes. The strikes are close, but it's clear that Haqparast is outstriking Ribovics. It's very clear. He outstrikes him by 3 strikes on my counter, but it's clear. Again, they're close in the sense that they're both kind of going back and forth, landing on each other pretty frequently in this first round. But the round belongs to Haqparast. From the second round, a noticeable thing in the first round is that when Ribovics is attacking Haqparast, his guard is up. Most of his strikes are hitting the arms of Haqparast. In the second round, he's busting through his fucking guard. He's busting through his hands. He's hitting his hands. Excuse me. He's not hitting his hands. He's busting through the guard. He's hitting his face far more frequently than he's hitting his hands. He outstrikes Haqparast clear. And if you want to throw in optics police is clear. He's pushing the pace on Haqparast. He's outstriking him clear. He outstrikes him, on my count, if I can find it really quick, 19 strikes to the legs, to the head, to the legs, to the head, occasionally to the body. He outstrikes him clear in this second round. There was no doubt in my mind. I never thought for a second they would score this round for Haqparast. Guys, all 3 fucking judges gave the second round to Haqparast. This is disgusting. It's criminal. It's bad. It's that criminal. I really couldn't. I can't believe my eyes. I couldn't believe my ears when I heard the decision. We go to the third round. Haqparast gets the takedown. The takedown is irrelevant. By the way, he gets a takedown after getting outstruck. He's getting outstruck pretty clear in the first half. Middle, he gets a takedown. He does nothing with the takedown, and then he continues to get outstruck in the second half. Now, it's a lot closer in the second half in terms of strikes in this third round, but he's still outstruck in total. Okay, on my count, it's 10 plus strikes. He gets outstruck by 10 plus strikes. Haqparast gets a takedown, but it doesn't matter. He gets outstruck by 10 plus strikes. 29-28. 2 Ribovics, last 2 rounds. And what do we get? We get Mike Bell, honorable mention. I don't even need honorable mention. It's just 2 shit scorecards. Mike Bell and Silva V Almeida give the first 2 rounds to Haqparast. The only problem is the second round belongs to Ribovics. Insane. Chris Lee is the only one with the correct fighter, wrong, bad scorecard. He gives the first round to Ribovics. No. And then he gives the second round to Haqparast. No. Absolutely fucking... it's just bad. It's just so bad. It's so bad. It's not even funny. It's not even funny. And then we go to the next honorable mention. And, this one just pisses me off on a bunch of levels. Okay, it's Kape versus Almabayev. Fight ends in a TKO win for Kape in the third round. Let's go through the scorecards and then I'll talk about the narrative of the fight. First round, it's a 10-9 for Kape. Kape outstrikes Almabayev by about 9 strikes. Okay, he's getting outstruck in the first half of this fight, and then he slowly just starts to outstrike. Quickly starts to outstrike Almabayev. You then go to the second round where Almabayev sneakily, and I don't say sneakily, while he is getting pushed back, he outstrikes Kape very clearly. Very, very clearly. Yet, Anik, because I don't know whether Anik has like an agenda, or he's just fucking blind, or he's just too busy screaming in his microphone so he's unable to see Almabayev's strikes. Almabayev is outstriking. I'm watching it, and I'm thinking, okay, Almabayev is outstriking Kape. Kape is throwing less. He's trying to land home run shots, which he lands occasionally, but he gets outstruck pretty clear. He gets outstruck by 7 plus strikes in the second round. And by the end of the second round, the commentary, and Kape's corner think that, well, Kape is up on this round. Because why? He chased him, because he walked him down in the second round. Absolute nonsense. Let's go to the scorecards, and then we'll talk about the narrative of the fight. Mike Bell, he gives the first round to Kape, second round to Kape. It's another shit scorecard from Mike Bell. Silva V Almeida is the only one who has the correct scorecard. But here's the funny bit. He scored the second round for Almabayev, which is correct. But he was unable to score the Ribovics Haqparast fight correctly. Double honorable mention for the fact that he finally differentiates that what's happening in this fight versus what was happening in the other fight. Honorable mention, but he got the correct scorecard. Fucking crazy. And then Chris Lee, his scorecard reflects Mike Bell. Another shitty scorecard. So there you have it on that. Let's get down to the business stuff. Manel Kape is on track to being... At first it was, okay, Manel Kape's funny because he said faggot. Now it's turning into Manel Kape is a fucking cheat, and no one's gonna stop it. This needs to be enforced. I don't know what we do. He cheated like 3-4 times in this fight. At first, I'm thinking it's a punch, right? When Almabayev goes back to his corner and he's looking at his eye and he's like, yo, someone poked my eye. I'm like, at first I'm like, bro, this nigga's being a baby. He got punched, bro. This nigga's being a baby. And then from that moment onward, it's Manel Kape putting his fingers out like they're blades, and then Beltron not being the enforcer. Listen, I don't like Chris Chione because a lot of times Chris Chione will be annoyingly just stop the fight and go, stop. Fingers. Don't grab the cage. And yes, it kind of ruins the vibe of the fight, and it kind of stops everything, and the apex makes everything awkward. But if we're just going to be honest here, he's correct in doing that, in stepping in and enforcing and stopping and going, hey, like, chill the fuck out with your fingers. Instead, we have Mike Beltron, who's just like, yeah, fingers. Manel Kape is either stupid or purposely doesn't give a fuck and decides, yeah, I'm just going to continue putting my fingers out. He gets told fingers once, he curls them in once, and then puts them back out and proceeds to do that. But the funny thing is, he's not poking Almabayev's eyes in that sort of fashion where his fingers are spread out. He's doing these, it's hard not to call this cheating. He does these sneakily moves where he's throwing these looping strikes, and his hands will be wide open and will poke Almabayev's eyes, or will swipe the inside of Almabayev's eyes on these weird transitions. And Almabayev is complaining, and you know what's even grosser about it? Because when you watch it back when you're watching it in full speed, you're not seeing it. So Anik is kind of like, oh, he hit him, but the angle that you're looking at, it doesn't look as though he swiped him. But when Anik sees the replay, he's like, oh shit, he actually is swiping him multiple times. If this is a pay-per-view, he gets reprimanded on commentary. It's a fight night, he doesn't, apparently, because we need more people at flyweight to fight for the title. Okay, cool, whatever. I'll leave that narrative alone. But what has me more pissed, though, is he's swiping his eyes. We notice the swipe. And here's the dirty part. Here's what makes it dirty. Let's say that Kape didn't mean to swipe his eyes those multiple times. Here's the real dirty bit. Almabayev is swiping his eyes going, yo, you just fucking poked me. And what does Kape do? In the first instance when he poked him, he kind of stopped, right? Because he's kind of like in the wide open. When he swipes him those next 2-3 times, he swipes him and he continues to go forward because the ref didn't notice it and he didn't say anything. So he's like, oh, he didn't say shit? Okay, I'm just going to keep going. Which is gross. It's fucking gross, and he's a fucking cheat, and he knows it. And Almabayev, in the end, kind of doesn't care. He's kind of just like, well, I got done dirty, but it is what it is, and he just moves on. Then the stoppage. It's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous stoppage. He gets punched up a little bit. He's covering up, and then he runs. Aaron Bannister, or Bronster, whatever the fuck his name is, some Canadian journalist or whatever, he says, yeah, he stopped it because he turned his back. I don't qualify that as turning his back. He's running. He's moving. He's getting out of that position. Okay, fight back doesn't mean let me cover up and then just start throwing strikes. That'll leave you susceptible to getting caught. What the fuck? Have we not watched enough fights to know what the fuck would happen next? If he's covering up and then Beltran is telling him move or fight back, you need to get out into open space. You can't just stand there and then uncover your face. Does Mike Beltran magically think that if once he opens up, the strikes will stop? No. So he has to fucking run. He has to fucking U-turn. And that's what he does. He gets on his bike and he starts to fucking run. Kape does a little goofy thing where he chases him around all frantically and then catches him. But when he catches him, he doesn't fall. In fact, he bounces off the cage and he's ready to move out into open space. Almabayev is surviving. And because it just looks weird, Beltran's just like, oh, you have to stop this. I have to fucking stop this. He doesn't have to fucking stop it. There's no need. There's zero need in the world to stop this fight. And he stops it. fucking just a goofy fucking fight card. And now we're supposed to sit and hear Manel Kape go, oh, they're trying to take my title shot. Should he even get a title shot? He's ranked 6th. And the only reason why he'll probably get a title shot is because everyone in the top 5 has already fought for the title. It's ridiculous. Oh my Lord, it's ridiculous. Kid hasn't even fought Moreno. I'm not saying this is a an Umar Nurmagomedov situation, but it's touching that. And yes, you're gonna say, well, he's already fought Pantoja. Who gives a fuck? Who gives a shit? He should have to fight Moreno. He should have to fight Ursa. He should fight those top guys. Instead, he'll get given a title shot where he'll probably poke Pantoja's eye on accident and somehow win. It's insane. This is like the 3rd fight in a row. This is like come on. He won his last fight via eye poke. Granted, he was winning, but that's regardless of the point. That's what set up the finish. And now we have another one where he's scraping people's eyes, and that's setting up the finish. It's done. Another goofy fight card. That's all I got. Thank you all for listening, and God bless.